The reality of disrespect as you age. As we grow older, we gain a lifetime of experience, wisdom, and resilience. But let's face it, there will always be people who fail to show us the respect we've earned. Whether it's a dismissive attitude, an unkind remark, or being ignored altogether, disrespect can sting at any age. However, it's especially frustrating later in life when you think people would understand the value of respecting their elders. In this guide, I'll walk you through 7 ways to handle people who don't respect you, strategies that are both empowering and effective. Whether you're dealing with a pushy relative, an impatient stranger, or even someone you thought was a friend, these tips will help you navigate those moments with grace and confidence. If you enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. 1. Embrace the silent stare. There's an undeniable power in silence, a quiet strength that speaks louder than words ever could. The silent stare isn't just a reaction, it's a statement. It's an act of unshakable self-respect that says, "I see you, but your words don't define me." When faced with someone who interrupts, dismisses, or undermines you, the urge to respond can feel instinctual. We want to defend ourselves, prove our worth, and remind them of the respect we've earned. But sometimes, the most effective thing you can do is say absolutely nothing and let your gaze do the talking. When you hold a steady, calm stare, unflinching and unbothered, it changes the entire dynamic. In that moment, you're not just looking at them, you're confronting their behavior without uttering a single word. This isn't about intimidation, it's about presence. Your silence forces them to sit with their own actions, to feel the weight of what they've said or done. Most people who disrespect others thrive on reactions, anger, frustration, or defensiveness. But when you deny them that, when you meet their rudeness with quiet composure, they're left grappling with an unexpected truth. Their actions say far more about them than they ever will about you. I'll never forget the moment I truly understood the power of the silent stare. It was during a family dinner, the kind where conversations overlap and opinions are handed out freely. A younger relative, brimming with self-importance, made a dismissive comment about something I shared, a story I was proud of, a memory that mattered to me. For a split second, I felt the sting of embarrassment, the instinct to argue back. But instead I stopped. I set down my fork, met their eyes, and held their gaze. No anger, no frustration, just a steady, calm presence that said everything words could not. The room grew quiet. Their smirk faltered. In that silence, something shifted. They realized they'd gone too far, that their words had landed in a space where they weren't welcome. I didn't have to say a thing. The respect I demanded wasn't verbal, it was intrinsic, rooted in the way I carried myself. The silent stare isn't about letting things slide or pretending something didn't hurt. It's about choosing where to place your energy. It's about standing firm in your dignity and showing, rather than telling, that you won't be moved by someone else's negativity. In that stillness, you remind yourself that your worth doesn't depend on their opinion and that their words have no power unless you give it to them. The older we grow, the more we realize how precious our time and peace are. We've lived long enough to know that not every battle is worth fighting and not every comment deserves a reply. The silent stare honors that wisdom. It's not about winning an argument or proving a point. It's about showing up as your fullest self, strong, composed, and unapologetically unbothered. So, the next time someone tries to belittle you or test your boundaries, resist the urge to explain or retaliate. Take a deep breath, meet their gaze, and let the silence fill the space between you. You might be surprised by how much louder your silence speaks, and how empowered you feel in its wake. 2. Embrace silence as your answer. Silence is often misunderstood. To some, it may seem passive or weak, a sign of giving up or backing down. But in reality, silence can be one of the most powerful responses you can offer, especially when someone disrespects you. It is not the absence of action, it is a deliberate choice to withhold your energy from a situation that doesn't deserve it. When someone throws a rude comment your way, they're often fishing for a reaction. Maybe they want to provoke you, make you feel small, or pull you into their negativity. By staying silent, you deny them that satisfaction. You let their words linger in the air unacknowledged until they lose their weight and fall flat. Silence forces them to sit with what they've said, and in many cases, leaves them more uncomfortable than any retort ever could. There's a beauty in allowing silence to speak for you. It says, "I won't dignify this with a response." It tells the other person that their words don't hold enough value to disrupt your peace. For yourself, it's a reminder of your own power, proof that you don't need to explain, defend, or engage to remain in control. I remember once standing in line at a pharmacy when a younger person behind me grew impatient. They muttered something under their breath, loud enough for me to hear. In years past, I might have turned around and snapped back, feeling the need to prove that I wasn't someone to be disrespected. But this time, I didn't react. I kept my gaze forward, shoulders squared, and allowed the silence to stretch. The space between their words and my non-response became heavy, awkward even, until they shuffled uncomfortably and stopped talking. In the end, I felt stronger, not because I had won anything, but because I had refused to give away my peace. When you choose silence, you are reclaiming your energy. You are deciding that not every word spoken to you requires a reply, and not every battle is worth fighting. This doesn't mean you're weak or afraid to stand up for yourself. On the contrary, it shows an inner strength, a calm assurance that you don't need to meet negativity on its level. By embracing silence, you protect your dignity, your peace, and your time. And those are treasures too precious to waste. 3. Stop explaining your choices. One of the most exhausting habits we can fall into is over-explaining ourselves. We feel the need to justify every decision, as though our choices require the approval of others. But here's a truth that becomes clearer with age. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how you choose to live your life. When you decide to do something, whether it's as small as saying no to an invitation or as significant as making a life-changing decision, there will always be people who question you. They'll ask why, push for details, or even challenge your reasoning. Often, their curiosity isn't genuine. Instead, it's a thinly veiled attempt to judge or undermine your confidence. Yet, the instinct to explain can feel automatic. We want people to understand, to see things from our perspective. But the reality is, their understanding isn't necessary for your choices to be valid. There's an incredible freedom that comes from letting go of this need to explain. It's the freedom to stand firm in your decisions, knowing that they are enough simply because they are yours. Whether someone agrees or not, whether they understand or not doesn't matter. What matters is that you've made the choice that feels right for you. I learned this lesson the hard way when I decided to stop hosting large family gatherings. For years, I had felt the pressure to be the one who brought everyone together, even when it became physically and emotionally taxing. When I finally decided to step back, the questions came pouring in. But why don't you love having everyone together? What about tradition? At first, I tried to explain. I talked about how it had become too much, how I needed to prioritize my health and well-being. But no matter what I said, the questions kept coming. It felt like no explanation was good enough. Then, one day someone asked again, and instead of offering reasons, I simply said, "Because this is what works for me now." That was it, no further elaboration. The conversation ended quickly, and I walked away feeling lighter. It wasn't just the relief of not having to explain myself, it was the empowerment of knowing that I didn't have to. Your choices are your own. They don't need to be justified or packaged neatly for others to accept. By refusing to over-explain, you gain approval for yourself. The next time someone questions your choices, resist the urge to explain. Offer a simple, confident answer like, "Because I want to," or "It felt right for me." Then let the silence fill the space. You'll find that most people don't know how to respond to such certainty, and you'll feel a renewed sense of strength in standing by your decisions without apology. After all, at this stage in life, you've earned the right to live authentically on your terms, without anyone else's permission. 4. Reclaim your time. Time is our most valuable asset. Yet, we often give it away without thinking, whether it's spending hours on social media, attending unnecessary meetings, or engaging in conversations that don't serve us. In the end, The minutes and hours we squander are gone forever, never to return. One of the most powerful choices you can make is to reclaim your time. This means being intentional about where you invest your energy and who you share it with. It's about saying no to the things that drain you and yes to the activities that nourish your soul. I've found that the more I prioritize my time, the more I am able to focus on what truly matters. In years past, I would have agreed to every invitation, responded to every message, and accepted every request for my attention. But now, I am more discerning. When I'm invited to an event or asked to do something, my first thought is not, "What will others think if I say no?" but rather, "Is this how I want to spend my time?" It's a simple but powerful shift. We often get caught in the trap of people-pleasing, believing that we need to be everything to everyone. But the truth is, if you don't protect your time, no one else will. I remember one period in my life when I was constantly juggling multiple commitments. I worked late into the night, attended social events I wasn't interested in, and said yes to projects that didn't align with my goals. At the end of it all, I felt burned out and disconnected from what truly mattered to me. The turning point came when I decided to reclaim my time. I started saying no without guilt, cutting back on non-essential commitments, and carving out time for activities that made me feel fulfilled, whether it was spending quiet time with loved ones, reading a book, or pursuing a passion project. The result? I became more productive, more at peace with my choices, and more connected to my purpose. Reclaiming your time also means choosing how you spend your time in moments of stillness. The constant pull of our digital devices can be overwhelming, but it's possible to disconnect and be present in the moment. Give yourself permission to take breaks, to step away from the noise, and to savor the simple joys of life. Don't let the world dictate how you should spend every moment. You're in control of your time. 5. Set boundaries. As we grow older, we become more attuned to the importance of boundaries. These boundaries aren't just about protecting our physical space, but also our emotional and mental well-being. Setting clear boundaries allows us to safeguard our energy and ensures we are surrounded by people who respect us. Many of us have spent years, if not decades, compromising our boundaries to keep the peace or to avoid conflict. But as we age, we realize that respecting our own limits is not selfish, it's necessary. When someone oversteps a boundary, whether it's asking for more time or energy than we're willing to give, making inappropriate comments, or imposing their values onto us, it's important to recognize it and take action. Setting boundaries is about clearly communicating what is acceptable and what is not. It may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been used to accommodating others. But the truth is, boundaries are a form of self-respect. They are essential to maintaining healthy relationships and personal well-being. I remember a time when a close friend repeatedly made comments that felt intrusive. They would ask about personal aspects of my life that I wasn't ready to share or make suggestions about how I should live. At first, I shrugged it off, hoping they would get the hint. But over time, I realized that my silence wasn't enough to communicate my discomfort. So, I gently but firmly told them, "I appreciate your concern, but that's not something I'm comfortable discussing." It was a small but significant act of asserting my boundary, and it changed the dynamic of our relationship. The response was positive, they respected my wishes, and I felt a sense of relief knowing I had communicated my limits. Setting boundaries isn't always easy, but it is incredibly empowering. Boundaries are not about keeping people out. They are about protecting your peace and maintaining a sense of self. Whether it's with family, friends, or colleagues, it's crucial to know where you stand and to communicate your needs clearly and confidently. 6. Choose your battles wisely. As we grow older, we develop a deeper understanding of the importance of choosing our battles. Not every disrespectful comment or action needs to be confronted. In fact, many of us find that the more we engage in battles, the more energy we waste on things that don't truly matter. When we're younger, we might feel the need to defend ourselves or challenge every slight. But as time passes, we start to realize that our energy is limited and precious. There's wisdom in knowing that some things aren't worth fighting for. Choosing your battles wisely doesn't mean letting disrespect slide or tolerating behavior that is hurtful. It means evaluating whether a response will truly make a difference, or if it will only escalate the situation. I remember a time when a colleague made a snide comment about my work. In the past, I might have spent hours crafting a detailed response, proving them wrong. But instead, I paused and asked myself, will this argument change anything? The answer was no. Their opinion didn't affect my work, and engaging in the confrontation would have only drained my energy. Instead of reacting, I smiled and continued with my task. Later, I reflected on how liberating it felt to choose peace over conflict. By selectively choosing what to address, you preserve your emotional resources and prevent yourself from becoming overwhelmed by negativity. You don't need to fight every battle because, ultimately, it's about protecting your peace, not winning every argument. The older we get, the more we realize that not every fight is worth our time. Focus your energy on what truly matters, and let the smaller slights pass by unnoticed. 7. Surround yourself with positive people. As we grow older, we become more aware of the impact that the people around us have on our lives. The energy of the people we choose to spend time with can either lift us up or drain us. Respectful, supportive relationships are key to maintaining our well-being. Over the years, you might find that certain individuals have not contributed positively to your life. It's essential to recognize these relationships and take steps to either improve them or distance yourself from them altogether. Spending time with people who genuinely respect you and value your company enhances your sense of self-worth. These relationships offer encouragement, positivity, and mutual respect. On the other hand, people who repeatedly disrespect you can erode your confidence and joy. I learned this lesson years ago when I realized that a close friend had consistently been undermining my achievements and making hurtful comments. At first, I ignored it, hoping things would improve. But over time, I noticed that I felt more exhausted and less confident after spending time with them. One day, I decided to have a conversation about how their behavior was affecting me. Unfortunately, they didn't take it well, and the relationship didn't improve. It was a hard decision, but I eventually distanced myself from them. The relief was immediate. By surrounding yourself with people who show genuine respect and care, you create an environment that nurtures your growth. These people celebrate your achievements and encourage you to be the best version of yourself. It's okay to let go of relationships that no longer serve you. You have the right to cultivate a circle of friends and loved ones who treat you with the respect you deserve.